And you cannot imagine, you cannot assume that Muslims that live in a society where Islam is constantly being bashed, not even a society, a world where Islam is constantly being bashed, will not have an effect, some residual effects on them also. It will. It has an effect on us. It impacts us. So our youth have already like a little bit contamination in their views of Islam, because they're mixed in with what others say about Islam and what they've come to learn themselves from the deen of themselves. And a lot of times the real foundation isn't there to begin with. Then they go to college. And when they go to college, they already felt bad about looking Muslim, being weird, being different, being the guy that's being criticized all the time. And then they end up in philosophy 101. And they end up in anthropology 101. And they end up in Middle Eastern studies 101. And you know what happens in those courses, right? You know what happens in those college courses? Basically now this youth, let me tell you what's going on. This youth who felt bad about Islam this whole time, they didn't feel confident in the faith to begin with, and it was something they were almost embarrassed about. Now they have some philosophical arguments in their hands that justifies, well, yeah, I'm not that interested in Islam anymore because, how do we really know if God exists? I took a course about whether God exists or not, and there are all these arguments. But the real problem isn't that they have new philosophical arguments. The real problem is they never had a real love and conviction and loyalty to Islam to begin with. These courses only made it easy for you to make an excuse. Hide behind the facade of an intellectual excuse. That's all it is. But they're being equipped with those excuses. And then of course you take Islam, people want to study Islam in the West, and they want to study Islam at the University of Chicago, or they want to do a master's in Islamic studies from George Mason or wherever else. And all over the country there are Islamic studies programs now. These are anti-Islamic studies programs. These are un-Islamic studies programs. The entire idea behind them is criticism. The religion you've learned to appreciate and love and admire your entire life, now you're going to do a master's degree. The entire time your teachers will constantly be doing one thing with Islam. What will that be? Criticism, 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 criticism. You don't think that'll have an effect on you? You don't think that'll start messing with your head eventually? I met a friend who's doing a master's degree in Islamic studies at Harvard. And he told me he used to do, he was learning Islam in high school. He got really interested. He went to Syria and did some Arabic studies. When he came back, he said, I should learn more about Islam. So I decided to join the master's program at Harvard. So he joined. 1 semester into the program. 1 semester. The first semester was Introduction to Hadith. Sounds awesome. You know what the premise of the textbook was? The premise of the textbook was, the more sahih a hadith is, if it's muttafaqun alayh, if it's agreed upon by both Muslim and Bukhari, that just means the authors went out of their way to tell people that it's authentic. So the more authentic the Muslims say it is, actually that's the more fabricated it is. That was the premise of the course. That was the premise of the course. Introduction to Hadith. You take that for a semester, see what happens to you. Are we even equipped to handle that stuff? No. No, we're not. And I'm arguing that that's already happening. A good number of youth are in Islamic studies programs, and they're developing some very strange understandings of Islam. Very strange understandings of Islam. And these are going to be movers and shakers in the world. You think that these people that are on CNN, that come out, the Irshad Manjis of the world are weirdos? There's a whole army of them on the way. There's a whole slew of them on the way. You think that's wacky? You haven't seen anything yet. The real show is about to begin. We haven't equipped our own youth intellectually. Our Islamic schools should not be there to protect children from the world of kufr. Our Islamic schools are supposed to be, this is what you're going to find them saying about Allah's deen, and this is how we respond. So when you go out there, you're not there to answer their questions. You become the people that follow the nation of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He's not asked questions, he's the one asking the questions. He's not shaken about his faith, he makes other people shaken about their false beliefs. It's the other way around. Our entire approach to Islamic education has become entirely defensive. There's too much fitna out there. We need to shield our children and hide them from what's going on outside. I fear for them when they go to college. No, everybody else should fear when the Muslim goes to college. It should be the other way around. We should be the carriers of confidence. That's what it should be. It needs an entire rethinking on our part on how Islamic education is conducted.